They ruled with iron fists, built empires of fear, and believed they'd never fall. But every tyrant eventually meets their end, and for some, it came faster and darker than anyone could have imagined. From Nazi Germany to the killing fields of Cambodia, from golden palaces in Iraq to hidden jungle bunkers and concrete bunkers in Europe, these are the lives, atrocities, and often shocking downfalls of the 20th century's 15 most brutal dictators. Saddam's rule from 1979 to 2003 was a catalog of war crimes. His Anfal campaign against the Kurds killed over 100,000 people using chemical weapons in Halabja. He launched the Iran-Iraq War, which killed up to 1 million. He invaded Kuwait in 1990, causing the Gulf War. Dissidents were fed to shredders, boiled alive, or thrown off rooftops. After the US invasion in 2003, Saddam was found hiding in a dirt hole. He was tried and executed by hanging in 2006, broadcast across the world. Ceausescu's Romania was a dystopia of hunger, fear, and propaganda. His 1966 decree banned contraception and abortion, leaving orphanages filled with thousands of unwanted children, many left to starve in squalor. Citizens froze and starved while he built massive palaces. The Securitate secret police spied on everyone. In 1989, mass protests erupted. Ceausescu and his wife were captured, tried, and executed by firing squad. The execution broadcast nationwide on Christmas Day. Milosevic fueled ethnic hatred during the Yugoslav Wars, 1991 to 2001. He was charged with 66 counts of war crimes, including genocide. In Bosnia, he backed the Srebrenica massacre, 1995. 8,000 Bosniak men and boys were executed in the worst atrocity in Europe since World War II. His forces used mass rape as a weapon of war, establishing rape camps. In Kosovo, over 10,000 Albanians were killed and hundreds of thousands were ethnically cleansed. He died in 2006 in prison before a verdict, escaping legal judgment, but not histories. Kim Il-sung created the world's most oppressive regime. North Korea became a hereditary dictatorship under his rule, built on cult worship, surveillance, and labor camps. Hundreds of thousands were imprisoned in the Kwanliso camps, entire families punished for thought crimes. Prisoners were starved, tortured, and executed. The 1990s famine, exacerbated by Kim's policies and isolationism, killed up to 3 million people. Despite the suffering, his image is still mandatory in homes and public buildings. He died in 1994, but his son and grandson continued the dynasty of repression. To this day, North Koreans are executed for watching foreign movies and sentenced to death for escaping. The fascist dictator of Italy, Mussolini, launched brutal colonial campaigns in Libya and Ethiopia, using chemical weapons and executing tens of thousands of civilians. He implemented anti-Semitic laws and aligned Italy with Nazi Germany in World War II. As the tide turned, Italians revolted. In 1945, he was captured and executed by partisans, alongside his mistress. Their bodies were hung upside down in a Milan square, spat on by crowds. Fascism in Italy ended as brutally as it began. Pol Pot's Khmer Rouge sought to turn Cambodia into an agrarian utopia. Instead, they created a death state. From 1975 to 1979, an estimated 1.7 to 2.2 million Cambodians died in what is now known as the Cambodian genocide. Intellectuals, artists, doctors, even those who wore glasses, were executed. Urban populations were marched to rural work camps, where disease, starvation, and exhaustion ran rampant. S-21, a secret prison in Phnom Penh, saw over 17,000 people tortured and murdered. Infants were killed by smashing them against trees. After his fall, Pol Pot lived in the jungle. He died in 1998, unrepentant and untried, his ashes dumped in a pile of garbage and dirt. Franco ruled Spain from 1939 to 1975 after a bloody civil war in which over 500,000 people died. After victory, he launched the White Terror, tens of thousands executed, political prisoners tortured, and regional identities like Catalan and Basque brutally suppressed. He enforced censorship, controlled the church, and imprisoned children born to political opponents. Franco died in bed, in power. But in 2019, his body was exhumed from his mausoleum, a symbolic rejection by democratic Spain. Duvalier ruled Haiti from 1957 to 1971 through death squads, mysticism, and absolute terror. His Tonton Macoute militia murdered, raped, and extorted the population. Around 30,000 people were killed, entire families disappeared. Duvalier styled himself as a voodoo figure, claiming to commune with spirits. He died peacefully and passed power to his teenage son, Jean-Claude Baby Doc. Haiti's suffering would continue under their corrupt dynasty. Stalin's brutal dictatorship from the 1920s to 1953 claimed at least 20 million lives. He orchestrated the Great Purge, 1936 to 1938, during which over 1 million people were executed. Military leaders, intellectuals, and ordinary citizens accused of treason. The Gulag system enslaved millions in forced labor camps, where cold, starvation, and torture were routine. The Holodomor, a man-made famine in Ukraine, 1932 to 33, killed at least 3.5 million, caused by forced collectivization and grain seizures. Stalin weaponized hunger, fear, and surveillance. Even his own inner circle lived in terror. After a stroke in 1953, his guards hesitated to help. He died alone, paralyzed by the monster he had created. Hoxha's isolationist regime, 1944 to 1985, made Albania a prison. He banned religion, Western culture, and contact with the outside world. Around 25,000 people were executed or died in labor camps. Entire families were exiled for the crimes of one member. Over 170,000 concrete bunkers were built in fear of invasion, even as people starved. Hoxha died peacefully in 1985. His bunkers still scar the landscape, a concrete reminder of his paranoia. Leopold II ran the Congo Free State as a personal plantation, enriching himself through slave labor in the rubber trade. From 1885 to 1908, up to 10 million Congolese died from starvation, disease, or brutal punishment. Children had their hands cut off for not meeting rubber quotas. Villages were razed and captives were kept in chains. While he never visited Congo, Leopold amassed immense wealth. After global outrage, he was forced to hand Congo over to the Belgian government. He died in 1909, publicly disgraced, his funeral procession booed by Belgians themselves. Amin's rule from 1971 to 1979 was characterized by ethnic cleansing, torture, and arbitrary executions. Around 300,000 people were murdered. He targeted Acholi, Longi, and other ethnic groups, often parading corpses in the streets. Bodies were dumped in the Nile, clogging the river with human remains. Amin expelled 70,000 Asians, collapsing Uganda's economy. He was rumored to be a cannibal, though unproven. Known for erratic behavior, declaring himself conqueror of the British Empire, he fled to Saudi Arabia in 1979, where he lived in luxury until dying in 2003, never facing justice. While revered by some in China, Mao was responsible for the deaths of 45 to 70 million people. His Great Leap Forward, 1958 to 1962, aimed to modernize agriculture and industry, but forced collectivization, fake crop reports, and state grain requisitioning, caused the worst famine in human history, killing tens of millions. Villages were wiped out by starvation. Parents ate bark and clay. Some resorted to cannibalism. The Cultural Revolution, 1966 to 1976, followed. A violent, ideological purge targeting counter-revolutionaries. Teachers were beaten to death, libraries burned, and millions persecuted by Red Guards. Mao died in 1976, glorified in death, but leaving behind a broken, traumatized nation. Hitler rose to power in 1933, unleashing a reign of terror underpinned by a virulent anti-Semitic ideology. His policies led to World War II, which killed over 70 million people globally, but it was the Holocaust that defined the evil of his regime. Under Hitler, the Nazis constructed an industrial-scale extermination system with death camps like Auschwitz, Treblinka, and Sobibor. 6 million Jews were systematically murdered through gas chambers, shootings, starvation, and forced labor. Other victims included 3 million Soviet POWs, over 200,000 disabled people under Axion T4, and countless Roma, homosexuals, and political dissidents. As the Allies closed in, he retreated to his bunker, married Eva Braun, and committed suicide in 1945. His twisted dream of a 1,000-year Reich ended in flames, buried in the dirt of Berlin. As president during the Bangladesh Liberation War, Yahya Khan oversaw Operation Searchlight, a brutal crackdown on East Pakistan, now Bangladesh. Estimates range from 300,000 to 3 million civilians killed and over 200,000 women raped. Entire villages were torched, intellectuals slaughtered, and the Hindu population targeted. The genocide triggered a refugee crisis and India's intervention. After Pakistan's defeat, Yahya was forced to resign and died in disgrace, largely forgotten. These men believed they were gods, untouchable behind armies, ideology, and fear. Some died in bunkers, others in comfort. Some were torn apart by mobs, others slipped quietly into death. But they all fell. Their legacies remain: mass graves, broken nations, trauma passed through generations. May history never forget, not to glorify their power, but to warn of what happens when fear rules unchecked.